Okay, so this week we're going to look at landslides. And when we talk about landslides, we'll probably also use the term called a mass wasting, which is just a generic term, much like landslides is, but mass wasting, I guess, is the more geologic term, which just is referring to a downslope movement of material. So it can be fast, it can be slow, and you'll get to look at all the different modes of moving material when you go through the lecture here. So like usual, you'll have a PowerPoint here you can go through, and then I've done a little voiceover of the PowerPoint there. And so in it, we'll talk about, what factors kind of make a slope stable or unstable, talk about some of the ways we can make slopes more stable, and look at a few examples of hazards that have occurred because of landslides. And then I did just link or put these few additional videos here just from YouTube, but they illustrate some of the landslides that you'll look at. And of course, there's hundreds of videos like this. I'm sure you've seen some of them, but you can go ahead and take a look at those. There's an article here. It was published by the United States Geological Survey I want you to look at, and it's looking at mostly at debris flows, which is a type of landslide, right? But it talks about, how to prepare for something like that. And then for the video, I want you to watch this NOVA Killer Landslides, it's called. And it was an event that occurred in Washington, the state of Washington. And it was kind of unexpected, but it had some impact on a small town called Oso. And they do a really good job of looking at some of the reasons why it happened and how they kind of went about rescuing some people and figuring out if that area is still at risk. So it's a pretty good video, so go ahead and take a look at that for your video quiz. And then for your homework, I'm going to have you guys use the Google Earth desktop version that you have. And so just like we occasionally do in labs, I'd like you to download this landslide file here. And all it's going to do is give you a couple place marks. So there's, I think, 6 stops that I want you to visit, and then when you go to the link for the homework quiz, it's going to kind of like be a lab quiz, right? So it's not a timed quiz, but this way, instead of writing answers on a document and then uploading it, you can just go to this quiz, go to each stop, do what it asks you to do, which is usually make some observations. You're going to kind of zoom in and move around, and the question will ask you, what type of hazard is this, or why do you think this failed? And you just type your answers in there. And when you feel like you've answered all the questions completely, then you can just go ahead and submit it. And then, so that's what you'll do for the lecture portion. And then the lab, we're going to go through more landslide stuff. And we're going to focus on a kind of a case study that I mentioned a little bit in the lecture. It's a place called Portuguese Bend. And there was definitely some controversy on why this piece of property started moving downslope. It was near the coast in California, and there was kind of a legal battle that went on. So you're going to look at some of that in the lab, and you're going to evaluate a few of the factors and see if you can figure out maybe who was at fault there. And so there's like normal, there's a little tutorial video that just kind of walks you through some of the things I'd like you to do in the lab portion. And so you'll complete those 2 this week. And I think that's pretty much everything. So as always, if you run into some trouble or you need some help, please feel free to contact me.